There are 18 different armor trims in Minecraft, all of which will allow you to apply a unique design to your armor. Some of these are beautiful, some of these are incredibly rare, and one of these allows you to craft the mythical Leverite armor. And no, I did not misspeak, because hello, I'm IBXToyCat, and welcome back to the Ultimate Armor Trim Guide. Today I'll be teaching you how to find, how to use, and how to duplicate every single armor trim in the game. Here they all are side by side, and later I'll be showing you some fun variants of each of these, but for now, let's go through the very most basic thing, which is how do you actually get one of these armor trims? Well, once you find the smithing template itself in the wild, what you'll need to do is take a smithing table, which used to just be used for villagers to turn into blacksmiths, and you want to go into that table with an armor type, so in this case a chest plate, with a trim that you want to use, so anything from amethyst shards to diamonds, etc., and then one of these actual smithing templates, and you can use those to craft this right here. What is the benefit to doing so? Do you get an extra bonus to your armor or anything like that? No, this is entirely aesthetic. The only reason to trim your armor is because you like the appearance, and this seems weird to some people, but ultimately it adds another objective to Minecraft and another way to customize your armor. There are so many people who use iron armor, but I'm probably one of the very few with an iron armor chestplate trim that happens to have the eye with amethyst on it, and that is why so many people enjoy the trims. It's extra personalization in Minecraft, and because of all of the different tools you can use and all of the different trims you can get, there is so much customization available, and let's show you how to obtain some of the easiest ones, starting with the Sentry trim. There are 4, I would say, that are broadly quite easy to get, and the Sentry trim is one that you'll probably be getting your hands on the earliest because it's very, very easy to find. Pillager outposts are almost everywhere, and once you go to the top of a Pillager outpost, you have a 25% chance of getting a Sentry trim. As you can see, that still means that only 1 in 4 Pillager outposts actually will have these, although you can have up to 2 per outpost, and that means that there is a bit of luck involved with basically every single one of these trims. Even the ones that require, even one that requires you to kill a monster is going to have a little bit of luck involved, and so just be aware that while you're looking for basically any of these, you're going to be looking quite a lot, and that's why duplication comes in handy, because if you want 4 Sentry armor trims, but you only find 2, then you can duplicate these using this crafting recipe. Every single crafting recipe is different, but they basically allow you to take one of your trims, 7 diamonds, and a unique block, and get 2 armor trims out of it, which is very, very handy. And so the Sentry army trim is kind of a early game trim. The same could be said, I think it's kind of more debatable, with the Vex armor trim. This is found in woodland mansions, and there's a 50% chance per chest, which is honestly pretty nuts if you ask me. And yeah, this means that you're going to find the Vex armor trim on your second woodland mansion, except the problem is these can be very far away from spawn, so this is a common armor trim in a very, very, very uncommon structure, but it's duplicated in the exact same way. Similarly, we have the wild trim. This comes in an uncommon structure, not as rare as the woodland mansion, to be fair, and it's found in either one of the 2 chests. You can find it in the temple chest, the one behind the locks, or you can find it in the main one, but both of these have a 33% chance, or 1 in 3, of giving you the wild armor trim. I love the look of the wild armor trim because of this like mossy vibe on the ground and on the trim. It's not my favorite on the armor itself because it's kind of an early game trim. You do this to customize, but not to make the perfect set. What is the perfect set? I'm glad you asked. We'll answer that later. But yeah, basically you use cobblestone to duplicate this too. The coast trim is another one that I tend to find this the very earliest on because it has a lower chance than any of the ones we've discussed so far at just 16.7% chance per shipwreck chest. However, you find it 0 to 2 times, and also shipwrecks have multiple chests, and also shipwrecks are found basically everywhere underwater. There are lots of variants, and so just keep in mind, whichever variant you find, you might not know where all of the chests are, and so it's worth looking around just in case you're missing one on the other side. So always be careful to look around for these and maybe find yourself this trim, because I think that it's a very, very valuable one. And this is kind of the end of the very, very easy armor trims, because as we move up, we get ones that are a little bit harder to find. The Dune trim, for example, is technically quite easy to get your hands on. Unlike with the shipwrecks, no one's missing the chests in here. There's 4 of them, and each of them has a 14.3% chance of having the Dune trim. However, I did a speedrun of trying to get every trim as fast as I could on a random seed. It took a very long time, by the way. I did it when it was first on the Java edition, and I had a lot of fun with it, but I found this was the hardest to get because I just didn't find a desert temple. Ultimately, whichever trim you're looking for might be the rarest one to you, because I think early in the game, you just have to be willing to accept whichever structure you find. You might not find a desert temple early on, but you might find an ancient city, which is why, even though this has one of the rarest trims, it also has one that can be considered quite common, because each ancient city chest has a 5% chance chance of having ward, but there are so many chests in the ancient city because it's a very big place. If you don't mind potentially triggering the warden, and who doesn't, you know, who's bothered about the warden? Not me for sure. Then getting the ward trim can be fairly easy, but the silence trim is considered to be the very rarest in Minecraft because it has just a 1.2% chance per chest. This means you have to go through an average of about 80 to 83 chests for the statistics to line up, but some people, and that's just the normal number of people, some people can go through hundreds of ancient city chests and never find silence a single time. Although, because of the fact that it's so rare, it is the best candidate for duplicating. This is the recipe. You just need to get a cobbled deep slate block plus 7 diamonds plus your silence trim, and then you can have another copy of silence, and this is really handy if you want to craft what might be considered. So here's the recipe in the wild, by the way. Let's grab silence because it's up there, and let's throw it into the crafting table, and let's also grab these diamonds just so we can actually get this done correctly. Let me show you something really fun, which is taking the silence trim, then putting our cobbled deep slate in there, and then making a recipe that Minecraft isn't showing us. It is the armor trim duplication recipe. So 1 armor trim becomes 2. In effect, you pay 7 diamonds to get more, which in this case is widely considered to be a good idea because, let's be honest with ourselves, getting 7 diamonds is a lot easier than getting silence. Now we can use this silence trim and show you why it's so sought after, because it takes the armor type that you're trying to make and it actually makes it significantly, it takes your armor type and it makes it significantly more like the new tool than the old one. So if we put a diamond onto a piece of leather, it becomes a diamond chestplate just with none of the benefits of it. And this means that you can put it on your netherite armor to make a redstone chestplate or an emerald chestplate, lots of wonderful things. But also, if you had netherite anyway and you really wanted to flex on people, you could make this, a leather tunic with netherite material. This is what the community affectionately calls leatherite, and the reason for that is that it takes the same amount of resources as a piece of netherite, and it looks a substantial amount like netherite gear, but with none of the upsides. This seems very silly, but that's what makes it the flex. You have the ability to make netherite gear, but you choose to have leather armor anyway, which can be dyed and therefore can do some really fun things with. This is the ultimate flex in Minecraft, and it's the way you show people that you mean business. It's like buying a Lamborghini. It's not a very good car for getting around, but it goes real fast and it shows you had the money to buy one. Is having a Lamborghini a good idea? No. Is getting the silence trim to make leatherite armor a good idea? No. Will that stop people from doing it? Probably also not. Speaking of not stopping people, the netherite upgrade is a fun piece of gear, at least if you're new to Minecraft. If you're not, you might find this frustrating, because before the netherite upgrade was introduced, you could upgrade to netherite just using these ingots, but afterwards you need to find one of these in the bastions, and although they have a 100% chance in the treasure chests, otherwise it's just a 10% chance, and so this is another good candidate for duplication. Then there is the snout trim, which is also found here at a slightly lower 8.3% chance, although it technically goes down in the treasure room chest because of its 100% chance of the netherite upgrade trim. And so just keep in mind that you'll have to go through a lot to get the snout trim. It is one of the more unique and interesting though, and also keep in mind that the netherite trim duplication is like this. It uses they're all the same, like I say, but it uses a netherrack block, and interestingly, if we look at the snout duplication recipe, it uses blackstone because it's in the bastion, which is filled with blackstone. So an interesting fact there for you. Speaking of interesting facts, I found the rib trim to be a nightmare to find. It has a 6.7% chance, and it just feels so bad. It's like silence, but less bad, I guess. And so yeah, you can duplicate it using netherrack 2, which I would recommend doing if you wanted a full set, but I just don't think it's worth it. Again, after my run of doing every single trim in survival, I feel like that's one you get once, and then you just say, I don't need this anymore. I think that's the fun thing about collecting trims, though, is that you have to go to all these different places. But next up, we have the most interesting trim, in my opinion, for a few reasons. One is because it's my favorite non-silence trim. I love this eye you put on you. And the second is because of the fact that to duplicate it, you need a block which you won't find in the structure. And also, it's the most common armor trim in Minecraft. So yeah, you have to go to the end to duplicate this, but you can't necessarily go to the end just because you came to a stronghold. Interesting flaw. And also, it's the most common, which might sound ridiculous when you hear it has a 10% chance of spawning in an altar chest, but actually, if you go to the library, as well as finding enchanted books, you have a 100% chance of obtaining the eye trim. This makes it the most consistent trim to find in the wild. If you don't want to deal with duplication through diamonds, you can go to a single stronghold, and between the altar chests and the up to 2 libraries you'll find, you might get an entire set of eye trims, and like I said, it's one of my favorite sets anyway, so going to the stronghold is recommended, and as we get to the end, you'll see some fun things you can do with it. But for now, let's go through the very real end to show you the Spire armor trim. This is found in end cities, and weirdly enough, small rant by the way, so after 1.21.30, these won't say smithing templates, they'll say the name of the thing on them, but they'll also give you a rarity. So this is going to be a rare item. However, also found in the end cities are two epic items. By the way, silence is also epic, but you'll find the Elytra and the Dragon Head, and the idea is both of these items are very, very hard to find, but Spire is actually harder to find because you need to go through, it's a 6.7% chance, right? Which means you need to go through more than one end city on average, unlike the Elytra, where you just need to find one end ship and it's guaranteed to be there. So this is my personal protest in the middle of an Ultimate Guide video, but if you don't care about that, you might care that there is a piece of armor you find through murder. That's right. All you've got to do if you want to get this one, I'm going to empty my inventory. All you've got to do is take down an Elder Guardian, because, and if you're curious, it is a 20% chance per Guardian, so on average, more than one Ocean Monument. Here is the Elder Guardian, and here is my best chance. I'm gonna die if I try to kill him, I think. I'm gonna get out of here. So there we go. Here is my best chance to maybe get something done. But you can duplicate it using Prismarine, which is a lot easier than going to different, I would say, Ocean Monuments every time. But it's a fun reward for killing this guy, and it's unique. I would say it's just rare enough to feel like a really great thing when it happens, without feeling like you have to seek it. And I didn't get it this time, but I did get a sponge, which is nice. This is a really cool reward for defeating a boss, and I'd love to see them do this with future trims. I would even say that if they weren't designing the Warden the way they were, it'd be cool if he dropped an armor trim when you murdered him, right? But that's an idea for the future. But now we have ideas for the present. There are two armor trims found inside of the trial chambers. These are the newest at time of recording. One of these is called Flow, and one of these is called Bolt. And you have to use a copper block or a wax copper block to duplicate Bolt, and you have to use a breeze rod to duplicate Flow, which is kind of fun. What are the odds of getting these? Well, one of these is meant to be much harder to get than the other, and weirdly, it's the one with a higher drop chance. That's because the Flow trim has a 22.5% chance of dropping from an Ominous Vault, but the catch there is that Ominous Vaults are much rarer, and so even though this is technically about 4 times rarer, you'll find about 4 times as many regular vaults, and getting regular vault keys is easier than getting Ominous Vault keys. And so these are two other trims. I don't love them personally. If we go to the entire set here, you can see that, like, yeah, I think they're interesting, and if you had them anyway and you didn't have other armor trims, I think they've got a unique vibe to them, but I do personally feel like the very best is always silence. But we'll finish that up after we go through the last 4 trims. These are all found and duplicated in the same way. You need to have one of these blocks right here. You need to have 7 diamonds, and you need to have the trim, and you find all of the trims in the exact same way. They have an 8.3% chance of spawning in Suspicious Gravel. You can brush Suspicious Gravel using, you'll never believe this, a brush. And if you brush it, you have, again, it's about 1 in 12 of finding an armor trim, which means eventually you're going to get your hands on one of these. After a lot of gravel, where do you find, after a lot of coal and wooden hose, where do you find Suspicious Gravel? In the Trail Ruin structure, one of Minecraft's most interesting structures. I feel like it's one that people will look back on and probably be most fond and most confused of, but for now, it's one of the best ways to get armor trims. But in my opinion, armor trims that we don't really want. I've vaguely shown them off as we've gone through this video, but as you can see, these trims are some of the most basic, but that's kind of the nicety of them in my opinion. They're meant to be basic trims, and that is the weird bit about the armor trim system. You probably want one really bad, and the rest are kind of there. I like the Woodland Mansion one. I really like the the Stronghold one, and I find that the rest of them is kind of down to your own personal taste, but that might be that you disagree with both of those takes. But here are some fun armor sets that you can make using the armor trims. They are there to make sure that your armor is unique, if not on Minecraft more broadly, at the very least on your server. And if you are someone who plays single player, it's still fun to make it a game to collect every single trim that exists. And I would recommend doing this. I had a blast doing so in my Let's Play world, and maybe you'll have a blast doing so too. But for now, that is everything you need to know about armor trims. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to check out the rest of the Ultimate Guide. I'm covering every single major part of Minecraft, with the goal being to teach you more about the game. I'm learning as we go through some of these too. It's a fun refresher of some of the knowledge, and it's a fun way to see every single armor trim next to each other that isn't in my museum. And so, with that said, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, because I'll see you next time. Bye. Oh, I thought that would be ocean. Bye.